Ow!
Perfection.
That's it. Thanos was here. Whoa! I'm really in Smash. I'm really in Smash. I'm finally in it. I'm fighting Mario. Yeah. It'll never happen. I'm never really gonna do this. I never get a chance to fight Luigi properly. Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Waluigi, all-star tennis athlete and potential combatant in Super Smash Bros., depending on how things go. We'll talk more about that later. Right now, I wanted to give out a public service announcement about something I think is very important, not only to me, but to a lot of the community as well. The children. The education of our children. Such a wonderful thing. It's like teaching our kids how to grow up and run the world next when we're gone. It's such a... we suck at it. And if you'd like me to prove to you how much of a failure the educational system is, that's what I'm about to do. Oh, God! Okay. Alright, for real, Dr. Travis Vortex Man, speaking, not Waluigi anymore. I wanted to make this video because school sucks, and it's pretty obvious that school sucks and needs to change. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to demonstrate that, because I thought it'd be fun. No, but like, really, you know, people who run the school stuff in the United States of America, you know, any sort of argument, they demand that I would do it in school fashion, you know? MLA format and all that stuff. So, yeah, that's what I did. I found sources, and I'm going to cite them. All the sources will be listed in the description below. I'm going to explain why school sucks. And, hopefully, by doing it in the standard essay report way that you would do at school, it'll be more valid than it was before. Like, here's an interesting point. First of all, you ever thought about this? You could take, like, the perfect essay. You got 100%, right? You know, because it was good, it formatted everything correctly, you know, all that. If you were to just change the way that they ordered around the sources and just came up with a new way, like, the sources are still there, they're still listed, they're still credited and all that. It wasn't plagiarism at all, but they were just, like, cited in a different way. It's amazing that that 100% grade could suddenly go down to like a 70%. It's the same essay. That's crazy. So, let's begin. Whoa! Okay, well, so, point of this video is to say that school sucks, right? Well, I'm gonna do that because I'm Waluigi. Listen to Waluigi, kids. He says that school is not the most important thing in the world, alright? Okay. Yeah. Alright. So Waluigi here created a few reasons why he thinks that school sucks. Oh no. Ah! No! Okay, so first reason, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is simply because it's unhealthy. It hurts your body. So, well, let's get into the meat. This is where I got all that verifiable information by looking things up. I'm not going to say the names of the sources. I'm just going to. Oh, broke. Ha. Alright. So our first thing is about how school. First reason why school sucks is because it starts way too early. You can't be getting up that early, guys. It starts too early. Alright, so for the sake of understanding what's going on, when I'm reading off of one of these papers, that means it's information I got directly from one of the sources. And I stopped looking for sources because I got bored of doing research. Either way, like, it's just to point out. School sucks. That's the main idea of the video. School sucks. Sucks. Alright, so, first of all, yeah, it starts too early, right? We teenagers need our sleep. Okay. Getting enough sleep is a biological necessity. As important to good health as eating well or exercising. Yeah, if you're not getting proper sleep, your body is not healthy. It's bad. It's bad things are happening. So, adolescents, such as myself, require generally 8.5 to 9.25 hours of sleep each night. We need that in order to function properly. But how much sleep do us actually get? That's a real English word or sentence. About 7 hours average. Alright, so the consequences of sleep deprivation are impairment of alertness, attention, problem solving, stress management, and information retainment. In case you didn't realize, those are basically the things you need to do school. Think about that. School is starting so early that it's ruining the kids' ability to do the school. That's stupid. It also has consequences on your emotional. It creates emotional and behavioral problems. It causes depression, poor impulse control, violence, worse health. I mean, that is actually kind of what they said. I'm just paraphrasing this. They actually, like they said, like it hurt your health. Yeah, it does. But worse health, drug use, impaired cognitive function and judgment, and decreased performance in everything. Literally everything. You need sleep to do and to be. No, think about that. Emotional and behavioral problems, depression. Yeah, so lack of sleep can cause a lot of anxiety. It can cause depression. It causes a lot of stress. And what do those things lead to? Well, they lead to suicide, for one thing. School starting too early causes suicide, guys! So basically, what the school's saying when they tell you have to show up at 7:30 each morning is that we don't care whether you kill yourself. We want you to show up at this time. Well, that seems kind of stupid to me. Seems mean. It seems like the schools are bullying us children. Teenage sleep cycles are physiologically different. Daytime sleepiness can increase during adolescence, even when teen schedules allow for optimal amounts of sleep. Most adolescents undergo a sleep phase delay. The typical adolescent's natural time to fall asleep may be 11 p.m. or later. Literally, naturally, we're programmed when we're teenagers to go to sleep after 11. This change in our internal clocks leads to sleep deprivation, which I already told you what that leads to. In many teens who must wake up early for school, also causes irregular sleep patterns that can hurt the quality of sleep. So basically, what this is proving is earlier school start times cause sleep deprivation. And sleep deprivation causes all the things I said. You can't use your brain properly, and your body is full of nasty chemicals. Findings. Okay, so this is where some of the proof gets kind of amusing. Findings of the sleep issue, like it literally listed all the continents they were found in, where they found these results. And they listed every continent except for Africa and Antarctica. You know, the places where they don't have developed school systems? Yeah, those were the only places they weren't able to find the data. Literally everywhere where school requires you to get up early, they've proven that that's bad for you. Given that the primary focus of education is to maximize human potential, then a new task before us is to ensure that the conditions in which learning takes place address the very biology of our learners. Mary A. Carskadon, PhD, Director of E.P. Bradley Hospital Research Laboratory and Professor in Department of Psychiatry and Human Behavior at Brown University School of Medicine. Now, in case you kind of zoned out during those credentials, basically the most qualified person to talk about this kind of stuff just said that the thing I was, the claim that I was laying was true. It's been proven. It's not a matter of there not being conclusive evidence. There's plenty of evidence. Starting school this early is bad for kids. Fix it. It's not that hard. Okay, so as you can see, what I've done is I've sorry, my brain shut off. So what I've done is I've just now shown you the evidence through different sources and figures of authority on these subjects who have proven these things, just as the way the school system requires it, which means still using school's rules. School's not rule, excuse me. Using school's rules, I still showed you why the school's rules are stupid. But Doc, saying that other people support your opinion, that's called argument from authority, and it's a logical fallacy. Well, then I guess you know what that means. School's rules are telling us to use argumentative fallacies to support our theses. They're telling us to do things the wrong way. That's not how logic works. That's not, you don't just say, oh, this person who's famous said it's true, so it must be true. No. Next topic. Well, sir. Okay. School takes way too much time out of our days. Like, so the school day itself is about 7 hours, right? The bus ride can be anywhere from like 10 minutes to an hour, like going to and from, which means we're spending anywhere between 7 and 9 hours of our day away from home. Think about that. 9 hours. That's insane. We're children. 9 freaking hours. Alright, since about 1955, children's free play has been continually declining, at least partly because adults have exerted ever-increasing control over children's activities. Peter Gray, PhD, Professor of Psychology at Boston College. We don't have enough free time. It's partly because we don't have enough time in the beginning, but we are being controlled, over-controlled, way too much. Researchers found that compared to 1981, children in 1997 spent less time in play and had less free time. They spent 18% more time at school, 145% more time doing schoolwork, and 168% more time shopping with parents. So basically, between the 16-year period, which it gave, less free time, more stressful activities. And think about those results were measured in 1997. That was 20 years ago. This level, it's gone up way more. The amount of our time that's been taken away and the amount of time is being over-controlled. Adding to the problem is our increasing emphasis on schooling and on adult-directed activities. Preschools and kindergartens have become more academically oriented, and many schools have even eliminated recess. There are plenty of studies that show that getting rid of recess is a bad thing. Having free time to burn off energy, to take a break, to relax, that keeps you healthy. Again, we see the school system doesn't care about the health of the children they're teaching. They're actively killing and destroying the lives of millions of children. This is ridiculous. These aren't even difficult things to fix. Not yet. I have way more to get into. Alright, so this is about the stress of doing schoolwork, all the stress of not being able to sleep well, the stress of how much work you have to do. The 2015 American College Health Association National College Health Assessment, or the ACHA. Okay, you don't need that long of a title. Found that 85.6% of students had felt overwhelmed in the past year. Well, that doesn't say much. Of course, students would say that they were overwhelmed. A 2016 study published in the International Journal of Clinical and Health Psychology shows daily stressors play just as significant a role in affecting overall mental health. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, 70% of those who report persistent stress have trouble sleeping. And as we know, trouble sleeping, as I already demonstrated, leads to more stress. It's just an unending cycle. Stress increases feelings of irritability, anger. Wait. I'm sorry, did I miswrite that? I think I might have miswrote something. Irritability, anger, which increases the likelihood for angry outbursts and social withdrawal. Students who are stressed may be resistant to following school guidelines and respectfully engaging with instructors. They may also exhibit disrespectful behavior online. Focus on anger may cause overall work to suffer. And as you can see, just like with sleep, they're doing the same thing with stress. They're making things much more difficult, creating an endless cycle of just repeated the same problems over and over, problems leading to an increase of the same problems. And these two papers are blank, because I'm not going to talk about evidence anymore. I'm going to talk about the actual connections and like more specific, broader stuff. That's kind of an oxymoron. No. In case you were curious, with all that I've talked already, I showed you the board at the beginning. This is how many of the reasons and claims I've gotten through already. the ones that are gone are the ones I've already accomplished. There are many problems with school. That's just... Okay, so... Let's go. So we already concretely, verifiably have proven that school directly impacts children's health in a negative way. Things that are easy to fix. Well, make the school day shorter, you know? Start it later, maybe make it like, I don't know, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. or something like that. That's a good 5-6 hours. Also, like with all stress and all that, there are easy ways to reduce that. Less work. You can have harder work without it being as much. That's like probably one of the fundamental things that teachers overlook and that they fail to recognize. Guess what? More work does not equal more challenging work. More work doesn't even make you grow. Wow! Okay, so I'm going to touch down, before we get to the abstract goodness, the juicy cream filling in the middle of the Oreo, we have to tackle tough, concrete, literal, easily provable reasons why school freaking sucks. You know what, ladies and gentlemen? This is something that everyone should know because we've all been complaining about. By the way, I should make this clear. Most of these examples I'm talking about the United States, because the United States educational system is worse off than a lot of other countries. Like, there's, in general, so many things that need to be fixed with every educational system. I'm just strictly, like, these are in the context of the United States. Guess what, guys? The job market is changing. Really? Wow. I mean, think about it. This should be obvious. Because less than 200 years ago, we didn't even have light bulbs. Less than 200 years ago, we barely were figuring out how to industrialize and steam power things. Less than 200 years ago, who was president? Like, Thomas Jefferson? James Madison? One of those people? That wasn't very long ago, guys. 100 years is not a very long time. I mean, just 100 years ago, women couldn't vote. Like, if women couldn't even vote back then, think about how much simply the jobs and the economy have changed. I mean, within the last 100 years, the political parties themselves have switched around so much. We've been through civil rights, we've been through the war on drugs, we've been through Vietnam and all that. Things change. Things change all the time. We're starting to get a lot more automated jobs, robots being able to do human jobs. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, overall, it's probably a good thing because that means we're going to have more change, which is what we need. In the end, I'll get to explaining at the very end what my conclusion on all this is, because it's a pretty obvious conclusion. But let's specifically talk about why the jobs are changing and school is not preparing us for the jobs that exist out there. There are a lot of, like, now more than ever, there are a lot of internet jobs. Like, you could be a YouTuber, like, albeit, obviously, you need to be careful, you need to be considerate, and you need to be absolutely cautious when you're doing stuff like this because of how volatile, like the market is for, like, online jobs and stuff like that, obviously. But even just, like, manufacturing jobs, because of, like, automation and, like, progress and all these things, the jobs are changing. Like, we're going to need a lot more computer programmers in this generation than we're going to need, like, farmers, really. Because we can automate a lot of farmer jobs. We're going to need a lot more people who are more... I mean, we've always needed these kinds of people, but, like, we need a lot more people... We need a lot more jobs based around not just technology, but in, like, figuring out how to create technology, how to design and maintain technology, and things like computers and computer programming and stuff like that. These are the kinds of, like, mainstream jobs that are going to exist in 10 years. What do you do in school? What do you learn about? Alright, class, today we're going to analyze the themes in this Shakespeare play. Cool, that sounds kind of fun. Here's what I think. No, you're wrong. How do you expect to get a job in the future if you can't agree on what I think are the themes for Shakespeare? Think about how stupid that is. No, but like, really though, the jobs are changing. All the time. I should really get away from here, or else I'm gonna bash my head on the freaking bar. There, that'll do. Alright, so school. What's the two basic subjects they teach you in school? I actually haven't heard actually. Math and English. Pretty easy stuff, right? Obviously, you need to know how to read and write. That's going to be very basic. Those are things that you're going to need, because that's the basis. We're trying to learn how to like expand from the basics, expand outwards. What school keeps doing is they're expanding in the same one dimension. See, you do need to know like simple addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. I gotta be careful when saying that. You do need to know basic math skills, right? Like, for any job, really. Like, up until about, like, proportions and rounding and decimals and fractions. Those are things that you need to know, right? Yeah. Do you need to know what kind of triangle you're going to need to fit into this other triangle in order to make the math thing work out? If you want to be a person who owns a restaurant when you grow up? Not really! Because that's the job of the contractors, the people who actually deal with the shapes. Do you need to know how all these algebra rules, if you're not even going to be a math teacher? Because what subjects do you need all these algebra rules? Like, alright guys, today we're going to learn how to solve equations with imaginary numbers. Yeah, you're definitely going to need that when I grow up and become, a banker? You know how much imaginary money there is in the world, right? There are going to be a lot of imaginary numbers when I'm being an accountant. You're stupid. Anyway, not you, the guy, whatever. Something as simple as running a house. There's no home ec classes. We're not told how to cook in school. We're not taught how to cook. We're not taught how to balance a checkbook. We're not taught how to pay taxes. Things which aren't really going to change, in which we need more than anything else. We're not told how to balance a budget. We're not taught any of these skills. We're not taught how to work with other people. We're not taught how to negotiate things. We're not taught how to be rational and how to be kind and so many things. From the basics, do you think I have any idea how to, cook pasta, or, repair a sink, or where to buy light bulbs and what kind of light bulbs to get? Do you think that I am aware of those things, like who to call and what number to call and when to call when the plumbing gets a little screwed up? Do you think I know how to fix a toilet seat on there? Do you think I know how to build a cabinet? Of course not, because school's been teaching me stuff imaginary numbers. If they don't exist, why do you need to learn about them? Well, that helped narrow things down. This is where I am now. Alright, everybody. Alright, everybody. Yeah, we're gonna talk about why school is stupid. Hey, guess what? What happens when you get the substitute teacher and they tell you that when you're subtracting, you gotta sorry, excuse me. What they tell you, you gotta, when you're subtracting, rather than carrying, or what is it called? The thing you do with the zeros where you cross one out and then you just shift the digits and stuff. What do they do when they tell you to not do that and just pretend the 0 is a 10 as that digit? I actually had a substitute teacher who did that. No kidding. She was hold on. I'm gonna get a marker, guys. Oh gosh, there's a giant dead body over here. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, guys. What about a math problem like this? Okay, so the way you solve it, you turn that 0 into a 10. 10 minus 6 is 4. And then the 10 is just 10 minus 0 is 10. That's 104, guys. I had a teacher who told us that was a guest teacher, substitute teacher, told us that was the. Excuse me, I'm full of disgusting noises today. Yeah, we had a teacher who told us that was the proper way that you were supposed to do subtraction, flaction. Well, it's not. Obviously, you're gonna have to be very stupid to think that was the right way to do subtraction. I just realized that could possibly sound offensive to people who have a developmental disorder. That's off topic. That's for another I don't know. Okay. So what happens when, like, in the middle of class, like, a teacher tells you that you have a detention for talking in the middle of the class when you weren't talking? Oh, excuse me, Mr. Teacher or Mrs. Teacher. You're gender neutral, as we have all heard before. Teacher saying, excuse me, teacher. I was not talking just then. That was, in fact, Elizabeth. When's the last time you met Elizabeth? Like, seriously? No, but like, you're just like, teacher. I wasn't talking. Well, then you get in more trouble for talking back, right? That's what happens. There's no efficient justice system in school. The closest thing there is walking out of class, walking to the principal's office, and hoping that the principal will be willing to take time out of his or her day at that moment to listen to you and to deal with the situation. That's all we have whenever anything like this goes wrong. There are good teachers and there are bad teachers. Or good teachers or poor teachers, because people who are poor, who are not good at teaching, might not be bad. Alright? Not every teacher is perfect. Some teachers make mistakes. But, like, when the teacher decides to punish you for something, like, wrongly, like an incorrect accusation, what do? There's, like, almost nothing you can do. Because, touching on some of the abstract stuff I promised for later, some of the juicy goodness, gummy bears. School was based, our American educational system was based on the Prussian model way back in, like, the late 1800s. The Prussian model was designed by dictators who wanted to teach obedience to the students, not to educate them, to make them obedient to authority and the law. Well, obviously, we haven't intrinsically used our educational system for that, but it still has, like, that's still one of the inherent repercussions that's just always there. The way it's formatted, it encourages and promotes obedience and discourages and demotes, like, questioning and thinking for yourself and being disobedient. Not like disobedient, like disrespectful or rude, but disobedient as in, well, hold on, I don't think this is the right way to do things. Can we talk about it? Can we have a discussion, a conversation? No? What? I've just gotten in trouble and I'm in a detention? Oh, crap! That's what they're doing. They're teaching you to be obedient, to not talk back. Well, that's stupid. We shouldn't be teaching children to be obedient to authority. Because authority can be good and authority can be bad. We need to teach the children how to recognize right, good, fair authority and be able to distinguish it from unfair authority. But we can't do that because that's abstract. We can't prove it, right? There's no way of doing that in a way that like works for everyone, in a way where everyone will be able to understand it, because it's such a subjective understanding. But unfortunately, because we've done nothing about it, it leads to things like, the passage in this book, I thought it meant this thing, but you said it meant that thing. I honestly don't think it means this at all. I think it means this other thing. Oh, what? I'm gonna get a 0 if I put that on my paper? So we're not learning skills, we're learning skills the way you want them, and I'm in detention. Okay. I mean, see how simple that was? I was talking pretty rationally, obviously for the sake of satire. I was putting a little bit of force in my voice. But still, that's no reason to give a child a detention. School is inefficient because of this, because we're not able to do anything unless it's verifiable. This isn't the scientific community, this is school. Okay? We should be able to teach in different ways. Which leads right into something else that I was going to talk about. One of the hugest things that like you learn in school is that, oh, everything builds on itself, right? You don't learn this and just forget it right after the quiz, because you're going to need to remember this for the final. Huh. Then why don't you teach it in a way that is conducive to retaining that information for the final? And maybe also get rid of some of the stressful factors that hurt our ability to retain the information in the first place, as I mentioned before in one of the papers I crumpled up and threw away. See, Theodore Roosevelt said that complaining about a problem without proposing a solution is called lying. So, to be fair, I'll have to do my best to propose a solution. I don't know exactly how to do this, if it's possible, but theoretically, if you were to teach a child to learn, like specifically the skill of absorbing information and being able to find meaning in it and understanding how a concept works, the skill, not a particular concept, the skill of being able to do that with anything, you could set them off in the real world and they would not need help at all. Because there's Google and there's computers. The child could go on the computer and access Google and get information. With the skill of being able to learn, like absorb the information and make meaning of it, figure out how to use it and apply and all that. We never teach that skill. If a child had that skill, go out in the real world and Google, they could go out in the real world and Google everything, and they would have all the answers. That's as simple as it is. But, rather than trying to teach the skill, we've decided, oh, hey, you know what? We should just beat this child over the head until they can tell us how the Pythagorean theorem works. Actually, it's useful in school. I was about to say Pythagorean theorem is pretty useful, but it's only useful in school. I never really needed it in real life. Like, yeah, I have this beautiful cardboard monstrosity. It's my life. I don't know if you can see it. I didn't use math to make it. I just used spatial reasoning. That's all I need. I'm not going to be building my own home. I'm going to either buy one that's already been built, or like hire a contractor to buy it or something like that. The normal way houses are built. They're the ones who know the skills. That won't be my job. That will be their job. They should learn this. And they probably knew for a while that they're going to have a job according with those kinds of skills and concepts, right? So they can know pretty early on, like as a choice, whether to study those kind of things. That's one of the hugest things about school, and that's what I'm going to get you next.
And goodbye to anyone standing in John Cena's way when he takes on 6 men in a steel.
Hey, guess what, guys? Today is the quiet edition. As I promised before, I promised to tell you that. I just used the word promise 3 times in a row. Okay, whatever. As I promised before, I was going to talk about School limits choice. Get up here. School, we don't have freedom of choice. We don't. You hardly ever in life. These things I'm criticizing about school, if you were intelligent, you would probably understand that these are things that can be extrapolated and expanded upon to understand, these are problems with society as well. The society and economy in the world that we live in. How do people usually put it? Corporate America. You know what I have to say to corporate America? You're stupid! Again, not you. Yeah, his name's Mr. America. He hates dumb jokes, so he's aiming a sniper rifle at me as we speak. We have no freedom of choice in schools. Very little. Very little. Sure, you sort of get to pick electives in school, but it depends on the school system. Choices I've ever had in school were of what club or after school activity to engage in. Still, as the guy before, was his name Peter Gray, the psychologist who was talking about adult directed activities, get rid of limit free play, which has negative consequences on children. Yeah, why don't you allow clubs where it's more the students have to be self-reliant, stuff like that, where students could start their own clubs. Crazy idea, I know. Why would you ever allow children to be on their own? But seriously. So, with me, the last time I had the freedom to choose anything in school was, besides clubs and stuff, as I said, it was between band, orchestra, and choir, and I chose band stuff. Then it was between choosing this science class that was supposed to be for the super smart kids, because we can't expect a dumb kid to do this. It was either choosing between that, gym, Spanish, and arts, which was also part of gym, because it had been broken down by semester, because that's smart, I guess. But basically, we don't get choice in what we want to learn. If I had a choice, I would have dropped out of math last year, honestly, because I don't need advanced algebra and geometry where I want to go in life. My dream job is as a musician. Inherently, if I'm honest about my skills, I'm good at being creative and at coming up with ideas and situations and alternative ways of doing things and thinking outside the box. That kind of thing. That kind of thing. Which means that also that means I am bad at the opposite side, thinking inside the box, being reliable. Stuff like learning how to repair a toaster, like specific skills like that, I'm bad at, and they don't even teach us in school. So when I go off on my own, getting an apartment, going to college, I'm going to be struggling so much because I don't know how to do basic things like that. And school hasn't taught me. I'm a freaking kid. I don't have my brain fully developed yet. A dumb brain. I can't ingrain these ideas in my head. I can't do that. When I grow up, I want my job, as I said, my dream job is a musician. Anything creative or with the arts or stuff like that, where it's oriented where I can be around people a lot of the time when we're in the process of getting the thing done, and be on my own when I need to for the creativity or coming up with ideas part of it. Basically, choice, a job where I can have choice from that. That's where I'll thrive as a human being. That's not what we get in school. That's not what we'll get when we're in corporate America, because corporate America is the developmentally slow child of the family of Earth. So, that's not true. They're corporate America is the oldest child who sort of gets it, but also is way too authoritarian from having bossed around his younger siblings all his life. So, we don't have any freedom in school. No freedom to choose what we want to learn. No freedom to choose when we want to learn it. If in class, like, there are times, like as with students, where stress and fatigue get so serious. We know we're not able to learn anything in this class. We know, we can feel that our body's telling us that a break is what's going to help us the most. But are we allowed to choose that? No! Because we're children and our opinion doesn't count! We have no freedom in school. None. Hardly any freedom in this corporate America. There's no creativity. I mean, think about this one. Think about it. This isn't everyone, right? But there's always that kid in school who knows, like, about what I'm gonna say. Who's been drawing something for fun, and the teacher's like, "Oh right, we're gonna do an icebreaker thing where we're going to draw on this piece of paper like pictures of us with like words that describe ourselves and show it to the class." Excuse me. You've always had that one kid who's like an amazing artist who's like, I got this. Watch this. Da Vinci. And, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, crap. Alright, yeah, and then the teacher's like, "Oh, wow, you're so creative and artistic. You're a genius." And then when the kid's trying to expand upon those talents and, like, grow in that regard and become better at what they're already good at and what their life is going to center on in the future when they have a job by drawing in class, the teacher's like, "You have attention because you're distracting the people around you and you're not learning in my class." That's dumb. That's kind of dumb. I'll say it. That's stupid. That is stupid. How many times have I said stupid this video? So, there's no chance to be creative when we want. And put very simply, no two people, no two individuals are the same. That's why they're called individuals, because they're individuals. They're unique. Everyone's unique and special. Alright, so no two students will be the same. Some students learn well with the way we have the system running. And that's great. That's great for them. That's fantastic. I'm glad that there are people who can thrive in that type of environment. That means we're great at being consistent. Well, not consistent, but like, why do I say consistent? It's not always versatile and varied as the human race. That's great. That's great that there are people who can learn like that. That's incredible! Not everyone can learn like that. Okay? Some of us, we have a very specific way of learning, or not even a very specific way, but a way that deviates from what's normal with, that deviates from what's like normally a school system, right? And that's a lot of people who think that way, and a lot of people who perceive like inherently differently. Simply, school does not address everyone's needs. That's a very basic thing. We're very close to the end. We're very, very, very close to the end. You guys, see? This one's an easy point to explain. No fun. Why is school no fun? Well, I already explained like the whole free play stuff I was saying before, and the chance to like be individual little children. That's what's healthy for us, for our minds and for our bodies. That's what's healthy for us, and school doesn't let us do that. So there's that point. Discrimination. Huh, why is that there? Crap. School doesn't discriminate, right? It's not like school says white kids are better than black kids. No, school doesn't. Well, right, so when I have the word discrimination on my whiteboard here, I'm not talking about by race or by class or gender or ethnicity or creed or religion or sex or orientation or what. I'm not talking about like the normal things people talk about when they're talking about discrimination. I'm talking about a very distinct societal underlying bias that causes us to value some people more than other people. I've already talked about everything except the discrimination. I already mentioned the things I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about school doing anything like discriminating against race or stuff. Basically, I've like, I got this journal at the end of these confirmation classes for my Methodist church as a gift because people know that I like to write. Wowee! And I wrote stuff in there. Like I thought, oh cool. I mean, look how pretty this journal is. Like actually. So I decided I'm gonna write deep, meaningful philosophy stuff in there because back then I thought it was like I thought like all this stuff was whoa deep. No one's ever thought of this before. And so that led to me writing a bunch of ideas down in here that like are kind of related to what I'm talking about. But basically, I decided to read or like paraphrase what I wrote because I'm much more articulate in writing than in speech, obviously, because I'm actually thinking about what I'm saying, you know. So let's see. Hey, whoa, okay. Where is it? Right. So discrimination. First of all, what is it? Well, it's judging someone for something you shouldn't be judging them for, right? That's as simple as it is, right? So what are we allowed to judge people by? Well, I would contend that it should be something that people work for, like something like that they can directly take credit and responsibility for, that we can judge people by. If someone has worked to do something good, you judge them for that. If someone has worked to do something evil, or just not work, you can judge them for those too. But like, you cannot treat a person unfairly because of something that they were born with, obviously. So, what I wrote was a child who has disciplined themselves to the style of learning so rationally adopted by the American educational system should be praised for their hard work. A child born with the natural ability to absorb information and easily connect the dots should not be praised for any intellectual feat. Because there are kids who are born with just the ability to be like, oh, I can figure this out. And there are other kids that are born maybe not with that ability, but with the natural ability of, I can get this done, and I can get this done, and I can get this done, and I can get it done very quickly and very efficiently. It's just something you're born with. They're not things you work for. They're just a thing that you're born with. So, where did I write more about this stuff? Right, so I was writing about the difference between intellect and intelligence. Intellect is the natural skill of having an advantage in the American education system. Or not the American, but institutionalized education, the way we have it, right? That's what intellect is, like academic skill. Intelligence is completely different. I said intelligence is the ability to think freely, independently of bias or external control. It's a skill no one is born with. You are not born being intelligent, right? Intelligent is basically, it's a lot of things. It's that, but it's also the ability to figure out, okay, if I want to get to point B, how do I get there from point A? It's being able to sort of figure things out, but not like the skill people are born with, like basically learning to do logical analysis and like appraise it rightly and logically and stuff like that, which is something that no one's born with. It's a skill that you have to learn. It's a skill that you have to keep working on. It's a skill that like is very difficult to hone and stuff like that. And I said, let's see. Right, it comes with experience and learning from our mistakes. It is simple and vision of cause and effect in the realizations and conclusions of logical analysis. So, how to get from point A to point B, basically. That's how to connect those dots. That's what it simply is. So, right. That's basically what I wrote about that. Now, the thing about school is, you know, let's see, how are you judged in school? Well, you're judged by the way your teachers and other faculty treat you, and you're judged by your grades. Well, there's not much you can do to, like, depending on how people treat you, and that's not even a big problem. The problem is the grades, because grades, essentially, what are they measuring? They're measuring how well you've done on homework, and tests, and quizzes, and schoolwork. Now, as we already said, those things lead to stress and anxiety, which cause unhealth. So, you have to learn, where's the balance? Where do you sacrifice one for the other? So, the other part of it, like where the discrimination comes in, is with the grades. Because grades, the way you're graded, measures, like some people, what if either they don't want to do the homework or they don't have the time to do the homework? You cannot then say, oh, you're stupid and your grades reflect it. No, they don't. Your grades don't reflect anything about your intelligence. They barely reflect your intellect. Grades, what they reflect is how involved you have been in schoolwork. That's a useless quality. No one is going to get anywhere in life because they're involved in schoolwork. Some good examples of like I could give examples of people, and I mean this is sort of anecdotal evidence, but it's also a very clear, true example. Like Thomas Edison, he was kicked out of school because he was told he was too stupid to learn. Whoops, oops, I invented the light bulb and the phonograph and 100 other things. Bill Gates was noted for being extremely incautious and not involved in school. He didn't try. He was known as a slacker. Oh wow, there's where Microsoft came from. Yeah, there's plenty of examples where people who were not necessarily good at school were able to be successful. Because here's the thing, throughout all of school you're told, or it's insinuated, that your grades are how you're going to measure your success in the future. Your grades will tell you how successful you'll be in the future. That is, well, sort of true because of the corporate America thing that I was talking about before, but it's not true at the same time, because grades only reflect how involved you are, right? You do not reflect how hard you have worked, not by a long shot. There are plenty of people, myself included, who are able to get straight A's without trying. I don't do that much homework. I don't pay attention in class because I'm not interested in subject matter, right? I just, like, I try to be fair with how I'm letting myself work in school. I try to be fair towards other people about that as well. But I don't need to learn like a whole new language or all these crazy math skills for what I want to do when I grow up, okay? What I want to do when I grow up is my choice, and that ties back into there's no choice in school. If we can choose what to be whatever we want when we grow up, how come we're not allowed to choose to prepare for that, huh? I mean, it's not like school's any smarter, as I demonstrated. They're not preparing us for the right things. They're not preparing us to run a house, to do simple household tasks like that. They're not preparing us for even the current jobs. It's insane and ridiculous. And back to the discrimination. I've noticed way too often teachers judging students, and not of their own choice necessarily, but based on the system. This system judges students who don't do their homework as less valuable. Well, I don't really do much homework. I know a lot of friends who don't do that much homework. How does that prove anything about being less valuable? Most of school is useless, if I'm going to be honest and fair. Most of it you don't need. It's a perfectly valid desire and choice to not want to go to school. You can choose that option, okay? That's a choice. You'll be fine if you choose that option. The things they tell you about, oh, you need to finish school, and you need to go and get your college diploma, whatever, so that you can be successful in life, that's not true. That's what people tell you, because people want you to be successful, but they don't want you to revolutionize success. No one wants things to change, essentially. That's where a lot of it just comes down to. People don't like change, and the educational system reflects that. in 100 years, the educational system has hardly changed one bit. It's pretty much the same as it's been back then. It has the same biases, the same discrimination, which has gotten even worse because now we have all these standardized tests. Guess what? Test taking is a skill that some people are born with. What's the good of teaching to a test if these children are growing up unprepared for life? If we're going to grow up and be hit in the face by, oh, all that time I spent in school was useless and they didn't teach me how to actually survive. It's not fair, and it's not right, and it's not good. Like, I've been joking pretty much this whole time, like, not like kidding, but like, I've been making this whole thing into jokes and like, exaggerating a lot of it, or a lot of my reactions to it. But this is the point where I would say, what's going on in the school system is not right. Students are being judged for not being able to get the same grades as everyone else when grades are an arbitrary measure. Students, like, and all these, like, all the stress and the negative energy around school that is totally unnecessary. All of that has so much negative impact on kids. We should be able to choose and have options for how we want to learn. Some people are not people persons. I'm a people person. I love being around people. I love learning that way too. Some people are not. They cannot fit into the social aspect the same way. And it just causes a chaotic cycle of destruction. Like, the failure of the American school system goes beyond almost anything else in our country's history. At least we were able to fix slavery. At least we were able to progress from that. But then when it comes to all this stuff about, like, you have to obey, and you have to accept that you are inferior to this child over here. You, the child, are inferior to another child because of this number we have. Well, that's not true. That is wrong of anyone to judge that way. It's inappropriate. It's disgusting. Like, the first half of this video is me joking, as I said. But if I'm going to be honest, like, I'm not yelling anymore about, like, jokingly about, like, whoa, yeah, this school sucks. I'm being honest. I'm disgusted. Alright, so, now, I'm going into high school, right? Geez, that hurt. Soon. This high school year is going to start soon. Being in the special kids English class, we have to do more work. As I said, not more challenging work, just more work. There's nothing hard about it at all. It's an essay where we have to write over the summer about a book called Animal Farm, which is actually a good book. It's by George Orwell, who makes great books about the failures of human systems, essentially. Now, if you're familiar with Orwell's books, I think you would understand the irony in that they handed them out to us, plain, bland, uniform copies, stacks of them, all numbered. We had to get one. We had to assign the number on the book next to our name. We had to be ordered and organized perfectly, sat into the audience as they told us our task to do obediently. Which was read an Orwellian novel. That's hilarious to me, because George Orwell's, the whole point of his books were about how control like that, the need for obedience, is overdone, unnecessary, and destructive. We're already in a dystopian future. Like, it's not very, like, it's not super obvious, and it's not very, like, I can't find the words. We're already in a dystopian future, but it's not super obvious, and it's not like something that everyone necessarily realizes or believes or anything, like obviously, but it's happening, and it's something that's affecting the children much more than the adults. Rates of suicide and depression have gone up. I've already explained some of the causes for this, but in the end, it's the stress and the negative energy, right? Those are causing these rises in destruction of the youth. You know, all the things the school complains about, being lazy, doing drugs. Well, I've already proven before that the school is responsible for that. That's pretty embarrassing for the school system. And it's just the fact that, like, we have no choice in preparing for the future. We have no choice but to go through the cycle of going through school, going to college, getting a job. We don't have any choice in the matter. It extends even to the point where parents who want what's best for their kids are blind to the fact that their kids already know what they want in life. Or other kids maybe aren't able to find out what they want in life because they've been manipulated by the system. What's happening is disgusting, as I said before. It's wrong. And there's plenty to complain about. Right? There's plenty of, the system is brainwashing us. I mean, it really is. How conformist of a society we live in, everyone's getting brainwashed all the time, you know? And it's like, there's a YouTube channel I'm kind of fond of, sort of Dave Superpowers. He does a lot of talk about the Myers-Briggs-y stuff. He's not kid-friendly, he swears, but like, he's very direct and he's very clear and he's very honest about motivation. It's not easy. It's a hero's journey, right? He has so much work to go through. And that's the thing. As a civilization, we're at the point of complacency and conformity where we need to go through our hero's journey as a society if we're expecting to be able to survive in the future and to be a place where everyone's happy. I mean, like this system, plenty of people can recognize like things they don't like about it, but in the end they're like, oh, it's for the best. Well, no, it's not. Oh, well, when you're going to school, you may not like it, but it helps you out in the end. No, it doesn't. It leaves you in debt. Thousands of dollars. Well, like getting a job, once you settle down, you realize the real important stuff of life, and you start a family and stuff like that. No, that's not true. And we've convinced ourselves that everything is okay when it's not. And school is just the most obvious reflection of this, right? But, as I said before, in the words of Teddy Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, I was right. For a second I was like, wait, was it Franklin? No, it was Theodore. Okay. Right, I have to figure out a way to fix it, or else I'm a hypocrite, right? Or else I'm whining about things. Maybe I am whining about things, but I think the first step in fixing things is to make this more aware and to motivate the people who already understand this so that we can move on from this. I talked before about a final theme of mine I was going to bring into this, and you may wonder, but hold on, you're talking about a revolution, right? Like overthrowing everything. That's just anarchy and chaos. No. If you pay attention to revolutions that work, Martin Luther King Jr., it was a revolution, right? But it wasn't violent. It was balanced. No one ever gets anything done by steering all the way one way or all the way the other. You have to be balanced. I mean, seriously, think about this. Just like anything in the real world, it's just like that. When it comes to these abstract ideas, you have to be balanced about the way you consider things. You have to be balanced between emotion and logic, which one, influences your judgment more. You have to be balanced about your investment in school and your investment in the tribe in general, and in the society and the external world and the internal world, the quiet, the me. This is me. This is what I think. This is what I believe. You have to have balance. balance. You have to have a balance. And being able to go out and take risks, explore, and conquer. And you have to have the ability to slow down, be consistent, maintain yourself, and be orderly. In everything, you need to have a balance. And that's what the school has completely lost track of. That's what school systems everywhere have lost track of. The government, not really the government so much, but as much as like our society has been so focused on controlling and conformity and togetherness that we've forgotten that you need to balance that with individuality and chaos and risk. It's not one way or the other, right? So that's pretty much all I needed to say. I've explained pretty much everything I can think of. Several topics of stuff. Oh look, there's bad stuff. Yeah. Alright, well that's it. Oh, I have a Twitch, by the way.